define this for me.
It's the change in growth.
Nope. It is a G word, though. Genetic. So there's going to be some kind of genetic change, which is very interesting because we're made up of genes. And for our genes to change, right, that's kind of weird because that's in our DNA. But something happens, and there's more to it. It's a genetic makeup of a person, organism, or a group of organisms.
A kingdom.
So not species, but let's do it in order. Organism, species, organism, what's next?
Class.
Population. So if I have a change in me, if something happens to me, that's not evolution. But if over time, because it has to happen over a long period of time, our population changes genetically and there's reproduction of our population and new genes seem to appear in the new population, that's evolution, okay? It's always a big question about evolution, science, or religion. We believe in specific things, obviously, and a lot of people believe in specific things. If you believe something to be true, but you can't prove it, what is that? It can be not a theory. I believe it's an opinion, and it could be a really, really smart opinion that has good, solid background. What do we call an opinion with good, solid background? A hypothesis, okay? Macroevolution is a hypothesis about the history of Earth. It is something that many scientists believe is true because they have gathered a lot of evidence, but there's no way to prove it, okay? What does the word macro describe? Big. Good. Microevolution describes small-scale evolution, okay? And it is a theory. So scientists have proven that there's a type of evolution that happens within a population over time due to some external condition that leads to genetic change. Looking at this picture that I have here, who could tell me which one do you think is micro and which one do you think is macro? One is horizontal, one is vertical, and tell me why. They're both changing. What kind of change? Good. So this, she says, is macro because you're seeing the change within a species over time. So you're going from lizards evolving into birds, okay? That's not even really based on our definition. It's not a change within a population over time. Why is this micro? What kind of change is happening here? Color. So we see changes in traits, skin color, size, texture. All of these things can be microevolution within a population over time. How did scientists get the idea that we evolved from other organisms or that we continue to evolve today within our population? And here are your answers. Good. Fossils. So we look at fossil records, and I'm going to tell you everything about fossils that get them to think, hey, don't you think this could have been? What else? Comparing anatomy, okay, in general, good. What else?
Comparing genetics.
Comparing not just genetics, but like good. We're comparing DNA, we're comparing protein, we're comparing carbs, biochemistry. So compounds of life we compare within one organism and another. And what else?
Reproduction.
Like a fetus, it's embryology. Good. So we compare organisms before birth and what they look like and what they're shaped like and things like that. What is a fossil?
It's a thing. Like a thing that like kind of like a very old.
Old.
It's a mold of a.
Good. So it's thing is, yes, it's remains, okay? So some form of object, right? From traces of living things from the past, okay? So if you die and you have leftover remains that could turn into rocks, like you said, or I heard a whole bunch of things. So we can find fossils normally as rock, and it's basically sedimentary rock. But we can also find fossils in other areas, like what?
Underground.
Yes.
In a sidewalk.
Yes.
In shell. Just kidding.
I have pictures. Think of Jurassic Park. Where did we find fossil DNA that we can use to help us make those dinosaurs?
In the desert.
And the fly that was trapped in what?
Oh my god, I was saying sedimentary.
Amber. You got to do it.
I said sedimentary rock.
Where else can we find fossils? So they're always in the ground. They're just trapped within something that kind of ice. Good. That will preserve it, because if not, things decompose, right?
Underwater? Shells.
Can be, but okay, good. We're gonna say tar, okay? So shells and bones can be found, but they're gonna be found either as a rock. They're gonna be found in tar. They're gonna be found in ice. They're gonna be found in amber. Things that preserve it, okay? When they're found in sedimentary rock, they're kind of compartmentalized. Sediment rock is little pieces of rock coming together. Yes. All right, what can we find? So when we find fossils in rock and tar and amber and ice, what can we find? We can find bones. Good. Whoops. We can find, good, imprints or impressions, right, in shells. And even actual body parts that are preserved, right? We're going to talk about dating fossils because, like you guys did your geological time scale, because we found remains of organisms, we've been able to date where they go back based on a couple of different ways to date them. So here's one way. So depending on your position of the layer on sedimentary rock, we can date you. The lower, the older. Good. That totally makes sense, right? Because in order to be compacted and dug up, more and more sediments have to be on top. So if you're further down, you should be older. So they base it off that. Another way we date fossils is called carbon dating, okay? And not dating, like dating it, right? They use a form of carbon. So carbon, remember on your periodic table, is 12, right? But there's a form of carbon called carbon-14, and it decays at a rate that they measure, and it helps determine the age of the fossil. Since all living things have some form of carbon in it, the amount of carbon that's left explains the date of the carbon. A lot of people find this to be inaccurate. Others think it's the most accurate. I'm going to show you a video on how it works.